and welcome to Lay Stories. I am your host, Kara, and today I am joined by the beautiful Loke OIiveros. She has a very long Hawaiian name, so I'll have her pronounce that for you. She is a bold and fearless individual who I am blessed to know and get to do life with in this season. And I am excited for her to share a little bit more about her story with you. Loke, thanks for being here.
Aw, I love you so much.
Love you too.
Yes, my name is very long, but it has a story behind it. My mom, had a literal story. She was driving in Waimanalo side, and she was hapai, and she had wished for another girl because she already had my sister, who is 5 years older, and then my brother, who's 3 years older, and she wished for a girl, and so she was driving on the windward side of Oahu in Waimanalo, and she wished upon a star that she would have a girl.
Yes.
And so that is what my middle name is. It's Kahokulele Malie Ialohi Lohi Maluna o Kamoana. And it means the calm shooting star shining above the ocean. So it's just right there.
Calm shooting star shining above the ocean. And she wished upon a star, and voila,
And she
here's
got
your name.
me, so.
And she got you. Oh my gosh, what a story. What a
Yes.
story. So speaking of story, every lay has a story, and we are stringing or ku'iing beautiful puakenikeni.
Oh, one of my favorites.
One of your favorites, one of my favorites, and we get two colors of the puakenikeni today representing the stage of life that it's in. So tell me, what does this lei represent for you?
Oh my gosh, the smell alone is just bringing back childhood memories. I remember we had groves of puakenikeni in our backyard in Kahalu'u. I grew up there for some time of my childhood. My parents would go out and pick the puakenikeni, and we would have them for every occasion because, like you mentioned, right, the different stages of growth happen at different seasons, and you have to be ready to pick them and have all of your supply to do the lei. But our family, it was just such a significant lei, or the smell just brings back so much. It's nostalgia. It just brings back so much memory. And my dad is no longer here, so it's also just remembering his presence, how he was just this person who gave of himself. My dad was just the coolest guy.
Yeah.
Like, I think every girl can say that their dad was their superhero. My dad, he was literally my superhero. He gave the shirt off his back. He served with his whole heart, and never complained. Like, he wouldn't even call into work sick. Like, he would show up. And I'm like, how is this guy like Superman? He never took sick days. He always was there for every one of our extracurricular activities. And I have 2 other siblings. He just was just this man who really, I guess, loved his family so much so that he put himself aside to serve his family.
Selfless.
Yes. And so when I smell this, I think of my dad, and I just think like, wow, how can I be like him? Just really just serving others, giving others purpose. Because really, like, when you are comfortable with self and you are able to kind of demonstrate this aloha spirit, others kind of pick up on that. And they're like, I want what she has, or I want what he has. Like, there's something different that maybe I want, right?
Yeah. What's Dad's name?
His name is Derek.
Derek.
And he used to go by Mitch because my maiden name is Mitchell. So everyone knew him as Mitch.
Yeah,
and he would be like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, he's super local, bro.
Yeah.
And his saying was, hey, I love you, bro, to everyone.
Wow. And he meant it.
I love you, bro. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's my dad. But now that I think about it, and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, he loved that. Like, he really loved that person. When he said, I love you, bro, like, he really meant, I love you, bro.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think of my dad, and I just crack up because he was just like this. His laugh was contagious. Just local brother, very humble. So.
What cultures or traditions did he lead you guys in?
So he loved to cook.
Yeah.
My sister still knows the recipe by heart. I was spoiled. I'm the youngest.
Okay.
With everything. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was really spoiled. And so instead of learning how to cook my dad's recipes, I just sat there and ate it. While my sister was like, she was just soaking it in, like, I'm gonna learn how to do this so that one day I can teach my children how to cook. And she really does. She knows how to cook like my dad.
Really?
To the recipe. His specialty is chicken long rice.
Yum.
And so every time my sister makes it, like, you know, Thanksgiving or like a special occasion, we just all think about my dad and we laugh and we crack up. His birthday's coming up.
Okay.
Halloween.
Oh, wow.
He was a
October 31st.
He was a Halloween baby, and we always just celebrated big. So lei was a part of that celebration, and puakenikeni, because it was literally in our backyard. So
Food.
the colors, the food, the smells,
Yeah.
ohana.
Yeah. This is a lei ohana
It really is. It's a full circle.
and dedicated to Dad.
Yes.
So how has his an upbringing with him and in your family shaped the way that you have started and created your own family traditions?
So, you know, what's interesting is that a mentor of mine, Pastor Wayne Cordero, and a lot of other mentors have always said, like, in life, things are caught rather than being taught. And
Wow.
so, like, as we demonstrate culture, activities, you know, things like lei making, like ku'ikalo, even speaking olelo, like, as we demonstrate it and we cultivate it, we perpetuate it, our keiki are just naturally going to pick it up because it's a part of, it's like a language, right?
Yeah.
And so, interestingly enough, I'm also a Hawaiian studies teacher.
Kumu Loke.
Kumu Loke. This is my, you know, it's an adventure.
Yes.
I did graduate from Kamehameha, and I was able to study Olelo Hawaii. I'm not fluent or proficient in it, but I do have a love for Olelo, and I know enough to be able to teach my keiki.
Yeah.
And it's really, really about perpetuating it through demonstration. And so as we speak words like aloha kekahi kekahi, as we use that olelo no eao on the daily, as we are demonstrating what it is to be aloha ahonui and lokahi and all the values of being a Hawaiian, like not only my children pick up on it, but also the children that I influence on the daily as a Hawaiian studies teacher.
What have your children, just on the daily, shown you of aloha? Ohana is so important to you.
So big. And the one thing that I taught my kids is always respect. Just have pilina for everyone. No matter where you are on this globe. Like, we lived in Washington for some time, and my kids, wherever they went, I'm like, it doesn't matter like who you encounter, like just have pilina, have respect for others, because as you show that, like others will respect you. And you know, like having 3 kids with different personalities, there's always something, like I learned something from each of them, but the one constant thing that we always, Corey and I, get feedback from others is, wow, your kids are super well behaved.
Yeah, they
and
are.
super respectful. And I just like gleam because I'm like, you know what? If they learn anything in this life, it's to have pilina, it's to be respectful. And that comes down through generations. That's Ike Kupuna right there. That's my tutu showing me how to be respectful, my mother showing me how to be respectful, and then so on. And then my father as well to my children. And he had a big part in raising my nephew and my niece.
Okay.
My sister was a young mom. And so they also, you know, they learned to have pilina. Super important.
That is a value that you really instill in your kids, but it's not, like you said, taught, it's caught, which I find is really cool. So that means you had to lead by example. Sure.
And there's times where I have to step back and say, do I have pilina?
Yeah.
Do I have patience today? You know, is there ahunui in my heart? Do I have lokahi? Like, just kind of like taking a step back and assessing where I'm at as mom, as kumu, as just friend.
Yeah.
Like, am I doing the things that I'm teaching? Because if not, then there's something that needs to happen and change, right? The shift needs to happen where I become what I speak.
Yeah, that's so good.
So
That requires
important.
humility, Loke. That's awesome.
I'm learning. We're all learning,
That's
right? We're all
awesome.
on this learning curve called
Life.
life.
So connection, right? This connection, you're weaving your life story almost, and your ancestors, your parents, now your keiki, the kids that you reach at your school. Talk to me about this role of community as it relates to connecting with Aina and people and showing honor and affection and respect, and Lokahi, which is unity, right? So talk to me about this idea of community. What role does it play in your life?
Just just stop, take in the, and I've done this with my students, like we count to 4, so I'm like, ekahi, elua, ekolu, eha, breathe in through your nose, breathe out, ha, like actually say ha, because you're taking that breath, like you're taking that time to be still and just like notice your breath, and then you don't think so much, you just are. And so to demonstrate or embody this aloha is really like knowing who you are so you can connect with others. And then that pilina happens, that connection happens, that bond happens when you're like, okay, I'm aware of my breath, this is who I am, and then now I can connect with someone else that has breath. But it's very hard to connect with someone that doesn't recognize their own breath. Ha is just so like important. It's important to recognize the breath. There was a period of time where I did yoga, and you know, like the breath is so important, and I had such a hard time. Like I'm on my mat and I'm like, why can't I notice my breath? And it was because I was thinking too much. I was thinking too much of the postures and like, am I doing this right? Like, I'm so type A. Like,
Yeah.
my T's have to be crossed and my I's have to be dotted.
Well, you're doing great with not being, exact with the lay here. It's pretty good.
You also have to have the growth mindset. We talk about that with our students. Having the growth mindset, also rooting back to the Aina. So important. If you don't get your hands dirty, if your feet are not in the kalo patch, in the dirt, it touching the pua, like there's no way to root to Aina. And so this last lesson that I taught my kids about Aina Ulu is the growth cycle, right? Like just this everlasting cycle, because, and it's so, you said it perfectly, like the different stages of the pua, right? This is kind of like returning to the Aina. So the kupu stage is like that, when it starts to kind of root up.
Yeah.
And then the liko, where it starts to bud, and then of course the pua, this beautiful scent that you get, and then the hua part, right?
Yeah.
It's just that bearing the fruit.
And the scents are different during each stage.
Just like life.
Just like life.
And you have to appreciate what season you're in, or the stage of life that you're in.
So, what season?
Breathe it in! Breathe it in.
So what season of life are you in?
So, that's an interesting question, because I thought that I was in this season. I'm like, okay, new beginnings, new employment, but I'm not.
Oh.
Because God really does something with seasons. And being a believer, of course, rooted in Christ, I am learning that new beginnings doesn't always have to look new. Does that make sense?
No. No, but explain.
New beginnings could just be a season that's in a different stage of the cycle.
New beginnings can just be a season that's in a different stage of the cycle.
So for example,
Okay.
even though I'm in a new form of employment and I started something, like it's a new year for me, right?
Yeah. Kumuloke is not a hat that you've worn for a while.
It hasn't been for a while, but Kumuloke was in the early stages. There was a part of this stage or this cycle where I had to mature in before I could be in this place that I'm in right now. And if I didn't go through those seasons or those cycles, I probably would have never arrived at this place.
So what do you feel like you went through to get prepared for this stage in the cycle?
You know, weathering the storms. I've heard a story that a tree, the roots actually go deeper when there's a storm because it has to root down. It has to like plant itself. It has to be firm in the ground when the storm is hitting.
Yeah.
It's raging. It's coming. And I've been through so much in my, well, I want to say I'm not too old, but I'm older than you. But there have been some seasons in my life where it felt like I was weathering a storm, and it didn't look hopeful. It didn't seem like I would ever arrive because you're just caught up in the storm of life. And the storms rage, and you're just like trying to fix life. And if you're type A like me, you try to control life. And then you begin to realize that it's out of your control. And then you freak out. And then it's like, I don't like this right now. I don't like this season. It's not feeling very good. And then you're reminded that this that happens here has to happen. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So if this didn't happen, it would never get to this place. And then it would never get to this. And then it would never be returned to Aina. And Aina wouldn't flourish.
Yeah.
Like this Aina Ulu cycle is something that is just never ending. And you could be at Kupu, Liko, Pua, or Hua, but it's not like it has to be in order. It's just different seasons of your life. So I'm learning that. I'm learning like it's okay to be discontent sometimes.
Yeah.
It's okay to weather storms because it's going to provide like a beautiful story. That's your story.
I love it. And it doesn't seem like maybe you're judging at this point. You've sort of let go because maybe in the past you, like you said, type A, right? So had control.
Yeah.
Didn't like how it was feeling.
Nope.
And kind of had to let go of that.
And you know, we are our worst critic. I'm so hard on myself. Like, my kids are spoiled. My kids had it easy. I think I'm more hard on myself.
Sure.
But I also, like, now that my son is in adulthood, realizing, like, he's picked up on some of my anxiety. He's picked up on some of my worry, some of my fears. And I think that's just because he was in close proximity
To mom.
to me. And I don't ever regret those seasons where I chose to be a stay-at-home mom. Even though I felt like, oh my gosh, there's more to life, right?
Sure.
There's got to be more than nursing, breastfeeding my children. There's got to be more than spit up and all that. Like, they are just so, they're seasons. And if you can just be in the moment and be in the ha of life, you start to see your season as a gift.
Beautiful.
Like, this is my season.
Even the junk ones.
Yeah.
And pass through, because you got to pass through. You can't necessarily go around them. Got to go
There's
through
a book.
them.
There's a book.
Is there?
I love it. It's,
What's it called?
Going on a Bear Hunt. And I've shared it with my kids.
It's a children's book?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's such a good story. You know what? You just gave me an idea. I'm going to share that with my kids. But you have to go through it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You have to go through it.
That's resilience right there. That's resilience right there. So a season of your life has changed in a couple of ways. One is this new employment. And you mentioned it at the beginning of our show, but the other one is your adult son.
Yes.
Or
And
just being
so-
a mother of an adult. What is that like?
Well, you begin to see how you mothered. It's like, Oh, okay, yeah. So he was the firstborn. That's where I kind of went wrong at that. And then you have your second, and now I have my third. It's like I'm just seasoned now because I just know what to do and what not to do. But your firstborn child is the one that gets the most of you because that's pretty much like an outer expression of who you are. Because they're learning your mannerisms, they're picking up on all of your little things, and Josiah is a lot like me. He is. But I don't know. I think he's coming into his own as a man. And seeing that is a beautiful thing because it's like, oh, I didn't have to raise him like this. He took the things that I taught him, the things that I learned from my Ike, kupuna, the knowledge of my ancestors, and passing it down through generations is super important because it gets lost. It gets lost. So when my grandma was like, hey, don't waste your passion orange juice, you gotta drink can. Or take your slippers off before you come in the house. Those little things just prepare us for life.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm like, oh, I have to finish this can of passion orange. Right?
You're not scarred necessarily, but it's ingrained in you, yeah?
Yes.
It's
remove your slippers. Like, grandma's going to get mad.
Yeah.
So just those little things that, as a child, you're like, oh, grandma, why? But then you grow up and you're like, now I know why. Like, she was just trying to teach us, right? Responsibility, kuleana.
Doing the best she can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too, doing the best you can. And as the cycle continues, right? I feel like that's a theme today. As the cycle continues, as life takes its turn, as new growth happens, as new buds form, as blossoms appear in the form of new relationships, you are soon to have a daughter-in-law.
Love, my daughter-in-law. Yeah, she's answered prayer for sure.
As these seasons shift and take on new form and change color, even change scent, and as we are wrapping up our lay time together, what would be your ike to your children as they embark on a new season of life?
I don't think it's ever changed. I think that word pilina keeps resurfacing.
Beautiful.
Because when you can respect yourself, you can respect others. And I think respect for self is even harder. Because we're so hard on ourselves. We also have learned, right, family dynamics, maybe our parents' way of doing life. We've grown into our own adulthood and we carry the things of our past. But I think that if we can not only change, but if we can be open to transformation, because change, you can change back. Transformation is like a total, like reboot, right? Transformation, if we can move from one season to the next, just looking back and saying, you know what? I'm glad I went through that because it taught me this. Or I'm glad that I was strong enough to endure that season so that I could be at this place now. And that's just respect. That's just like respect for yourself and loving yourself enough to endure whatever life throws at you.
And with that, I love your lay as it's coming along.
It's okay.
No, it's a continuing process. As you can see, it's not yet finished.
Yes.
Mine is not yet finished either. Actually, it kind of is.
So beautiful.
It's a shorter lay ai.
I love it.
Thank you, Loke, for sharing your ike, sharing your story with us, for sharing your wisdom. And I hope you viewers at home are blessed by Loke's story, Loke's essence, her encouragement to just take a breath and breathe, embrace the moment, embrace the season, whatever season that you're in, and to just move through it, not try to go around it, not try to go above it or below it, but embrace the season that you're in.
Yes.
Thank you for watching, and we are looking forward to seeing you next time. Aloha.
Aloha.